So guys, did you know before the mid-season 3 update, Claymores were very unreliable? Like I could walk in front of it and it doesn't trigger. And you may say that's part of the feature, but if you run past it fast enough, it'll trigger, but does no damage to you. Not only that, if you do run and cause it to trigger, it only does about half health damage. And after the season 3 update, look at how reliable this really is. It takes you out at full health, and it even sounds better than it did before. So guys, did you know if you throw a nade to an enemy's grenade interceptor, it's going to jam it. But if you use the jammer and then throw a nade, it's going to go right past it. So we wanted to test the new jammer that came to the Recon class, and you can see when the enemy throws it down, my motion sensor starts flashing. And it even tells me on the minimap that I'm being jammed. Now this is actually pretty cool because you can use this jammer in two ways. The first one is just throwing it on the ground, which you've seen before, and it shows that it's being jammed. The second way is you can become the jammer by just simply tapping to put it down instead of holding to put it down. And you'll see that on the minimap with that circle around you that shows you the radius of how far you're jamming the objects. So guys, did you know before the mid-season 3 update for Battlefield 6, the air radar used to look like this? And after the mid-season 3 update, it looks like this. And not only that, there's been a whole update to how attack helicopters have their loadout. You've got an air radar that's passive now, and you've also got the gunner thermal optics. Look at this. Battlefield 6 just gave the mobile anti-air new rockets, but which one is actually worth using? The first one we're going to look at is the laser guided rocket. This thing is surprisingly very accurate and very fast. It can definitely take out a helicopter, but against a tank, doesn't do a lot of damage, but against players, does a whole lot of damage. The second one we're going to look at is the high velocity rockets. You get about 4 of these. And you gotta kind of be accurate with it. In general, think of it as like rocket pods. And against the tank, it doesn't really do a whole lot of damage, but against players, it does that damage. So guys, this was a pretty cool update by the Battlefield 6 devs. The engineer could pick up the mine and the M2 slam, whilst the Recon could pick up the C4, the decoy, and the Claymore, but none of them would ever get rewarded any points whatsoever. With the new update, the engineer could pick up the M2 slams, and he's getting points, including the mine. And the Recon is now also being rewarded for picking up the C4, the decoy, and the Claymore. Pretty nice update by the devs. There's a new update that happened to the Defibs in Battlefield 6. See if you can catch it. See, this was the old way, and this is the new. If you look closely, you'll notice sparks come out of the Defibs when he's using it. And you can now actually see this from the third person, and it actually kind of looks pretty cool as a little detail for when you go to revive somebody on the ground. Did you guys know before the Battlefield 6 update, if you took a vehicle supply crate and put it next to the anti-air, then you used the anti-air to fire at a helicopter or any air vehicle, and then you looked at the vehicle supply crate, it shows that it's resupplying, but it does not even resupply. It's kind of like bugged out. And now after the Battlefield 6 Season 3 update, it actually matches up and resupplies the anti-air. And since there's a lot of new rockets for the anti-air, this is actually very useful. Guys, the Battlefield 6 devs are actually listening to us. Before the mid-Season 3 update, the Marauder used to be incredibly strong, even against a 50 cal mounted gun. And after the Season 3 update, look at how much damage it takes now. But it doesn't just stop there. The minigun, which is also on the Blackhawk, can do a lot of damage to it now. The Battlefield 6 devs have completely changed how the mortar system works after this mid-season 3 update, and it's completely different than how we're used to seeing. See, before you could put it down and have a missile interceptor next to it and it would defend you. Most guys used to have like 2 of these around it, and it would defend you against pretty much any counter mortars that came your way, so people would just camp using this. And now, after the mid-season 3 update, you can't even equip the mortar and the missile interceptor together. And if you were to do it for another buddy, you can't even put the missile interceptor next to it, not even close to it. It's got to be put far away from it. So the concept is the devs want you to move around more with the mortar rather than sitting in one position, and it's also weaker now, so it takes more damage. So guys, we wanted to test out the handheld jammer against a Claymore, because a lot of you guys wanted to know, does the handheld jammer block the Claymore? And check this out, when he drops that jammer and he's on the opposite team, he can not only run left and right across the mortar, he can even go from the back, like just run towards it from a distance away, right towards it, doesn't even trigger. So what if I shoot out that jammer? Now the Claymore should be able to be used and work properly, and look what happens. Did you guys know there's a drivable couch Easter egg that the Battlefield 6 devs decided to put into Battlefield 6? And it's actually kind of hilarious the things you can do, because we even tried testing if you could drive over people if they're prone, and you totally can. And at this point, we just wanted to have some fun with it, so this is what you kind of can do with it.
It's stuck. Oh no!
See if you guys can spot the difference of what it looked like before the mid-season 3 update. And this is it after the mid-season 3 update. See, before, even though it took out all the mines or gadgets, it still didn't play a sound or an animation for some of them. They just disappeared. And now, after the mid-season 3 update, it's very consistent. It will always play the animation and the sound. And this also applies for people on the ground. See, before, this is what it looked like. And this is it after. So guys, look at this. This is the minimap camera for when you go to deploy on a teammate and when they're on the EOD bot. This was before the mid-season 3 update. And after, this is what it looks like. See, the Battlefield 6 devs decided to fix the camera on some of these things, and one of the things they updated was the bike. This is what it was before. When you wanted to spawn a teammate on a bike, it showed you a lower down camera view. Now, with the new update, this is what it looks like. Do you guys remember this sniper decoy that you could put down in Battlefield 1 that's now in Battlefield 6? Well, the Battlefield 6 devs had it work like this before the mid-season 3 update. See, if you shoot the player in the head, you get a headshot hit marker. If you shoot the decoy in the head, you get nothing. Same thing with shooting the body. You get a body hit marker, but nothing on the decoy. And after the mid-season 3 update, regardless of whether you shoot the decoy in the head or in the body, you get a body hit marker. So at least there's a hit marker now with this new mid-season update. So we wanted to test out how good this new jammer is with the new mid-season 3 update. See, the suppression system could jam mines, gadgets, all that good stuff. But when a sniper decides to come at you and throw that jammer right next to you, does it jam the suppression system? You get an info that it is jammed, and it doesn't even trigger on the mine whatsoever, nor the EOD bot anymore. So what if we go a little further? What about lock-ons? Does it jam stingers and Iglas? And as you can see here, it definitely jams it. So what about the Javelin? How good is it against the Javelin? And clearly, it's jamming that too. Guys, check this out. If I were to throw C4 on a tank and then go to trigger it, obviously it does damage. But if I do this again and then the sniper decides to jam me, the trigger no longer works and I can't trigger that C4. But what if we take it a step further? What if we were to try to jam vehicles from using their abilities, like destroying these mines and whatnot on the ground? And if a sniper decides to try to jam my vehicle, it doesn't even stop it. What about the anti-air or any tank at all using the thermal smoke? Does it jam that? And clearly, it's not jamming that either. And we know the jammer can jam any of these defense systems. So what about the defense system on the tank? Can it jam that? And clearly, it doesn't jam that. Look at how weird this used to look. Apparently, if you were too close to the ceiling, your body ended up doing this weird jiggly effect. So the Battlefield 6 devs decided to fix that and update it in this mid-season 3 update with the game. And this is what it looks like now. It's a little bit smoother and works a lot better. So guys, you see this tracer dart that you could use to tracer dart any vehicle? Well, before the mid-season 3 update, if you dived with it, it just wouldn't trigger to fire. Just doesn't happen. And now, after the mid-season 3 update, the devs have fixed this, so you can dive and fire it. This also applies to the incendiary airburst. Before, diving just didn't work when trying to fire it. And now, after mid-season 3 update, it's working. But not only that, the green HUD indicator is a lot more noticeable and shows you exactly where that thing is going to go. Guys, look at this fine detail by the DICE devs. This looks like a regular car, Jeep of anything, but it's actually a golf cart. I mean, look at this. Even when you spawn in and look at it, looks like a car, right? Well, after the mid-season 3 update, this has changed. It now looks like an upside down figure. But I mean, I guess it looks like a golf cart because it's definitely different than looking like a Jeep. So you got that now. So we wanted to test out if the jammer can jam the AT-4. Here it is without being jammed. And then when the sniper actually jams me, I can't even fire the thing. It's absolutely jammed. So what if You take a shot already with the AT4, guide it along, and then you get jammed. You lose all traction. It doesn't follow where the laser's going. The laser itself gets jammed. This is New Sobek City in the day, and this is it at night. Oh my goodness. There's even a moon out of nowhere. Look at the pyramids. We wanted to see if the night vision... Oh, brother, it's bright even with night vision. It's so bright, but let's see, does the jammer affect the night vision? Absolutely not. Guys, if you put C4 on a vehicle, and then you were to be far away from the vehicle, you could still trigger it. But what if you put C4 on the vehicle, and then somebody decides to jam that C4 while you're far away? It doesn't trigger. The only way this is going to work is unless you destroy that jammer. Then you can trigger it from far away. Guys, there's some wacky things happening to Battlefield, like this handle wiggling around, or this floating attachment on the SMG. I'm not entirely sure why this happens, but there's even this DMR that has a floating suppressor for some reason. Can't really understand how this happened. Wonky attachments in Battlefield 6. Did you know if you were to throw a motion sensor on the ground and then an enemy were to throw a jammer on it, it immediately jams it, and you could see this on the minimap. But we wanted to test what would happen with the drone. What if you were to use the drone and somebody were to throw a jammer at you? It immediately disables it. So what if you were to take the drone really high up and then they were trying to jam you? Does it jam you from using the drone? And it looks like you can still use it even though the jammer is near you. But what if you bring the drone near you? And it seems like it's about this far high that the jammer will get you. So it's got a really big range on jamming things. If you had M2 slams on the ground and a tank were to drive over it, it would trigger and hit the tank. But what if you were to put M2 slams down on the ground and then this driver was a sniper who was using a jammer and then equipped that jammer on themselves, entered the tank and decided to drive over those M2 slams? Would they trigger? And as you can see here, the jammer actually jams those M2 slams, even though there's no notification. So what about the motion sensor mine? Surely that triggers and hits the tank. So let's try that again. Let's have the motion censored mine down and the sniper puts on the jammer and then drives. You can see it immediately shows that it got jammed and the tank can completely drive by this and it won't even trigger. But later on, for some reason, it triggers and then it completely doesn't know where it's going. If you were to use this drone and then an enemy sniper was to put down a tugs, you could take it out with the drone. But what if they throw a tugs down and then a jammer on top of it? Would you be able to take it out? And clearly, you can. It shows up that you can. But the jammer is still there. You can't take it out. It doesn't even give you an indication of being able to take out the jammer. And keep in mind, the jammer has a high range, so it'll jam your drone out before you can even get it low. If you have a Javelin and you try to lock onto a tank while a sniper throws a jammer on you, you won't be able to lock onto that tank. But what if the sniper runs up to the tank, throws the jammer on the tank, would you still be able to lock on? And as you can see here, the Javelin still locks on. So it's only about jamming the person using the Javelin. Will this work? The Battlefield 6 devs decided to update the anti-glare attachment. See, this is what it looks like without the anti-glare attachment. It seems pretty normal on the side, it's not as bright, but once you get dead center, it's very bright and it's got that rainbow effect. As you can see here, this is how you know you're in the kill shot. And this is it with the anti-glare attachment. Completely noticeable that it's hard to see. Other than being in a distance, you kind of see a small rainbow, but as soon as you scope in, you can't really see that glare or the sniper scope. Even on the side, it's actually much weaker. So the anti-glare attachment got a nice little buff. We wanted to test out if a jet were to fly by and there were two jets in the air flying next to each other, would the flares of one jet protect the other jet? So we decided to test this out. So as you can see here, there's two jets flying. I'm going to lock on to the first jet, and the second jet is going to flare. And when it does, it seems to have cut off that lock-on. But what if it was just because it kind of flew into my lock-on range? So we wanted to test this out again, just to be absolutely certain. And as you can see here, I'm now locking onto the front jet, the jet in the back flares, and it doesn't seem to really break that lock unless the jet goes into my range. So what if I lock onto the jet in the back, and the front jet flares? And as you can see here, it absolutely cuts off the lock-on. No matter how hard you try, the flares of the first jet will cut off your lock. What if you land the jet on Gormid Railway, get out, put some C4 on it, and then you obviously got to get back in because you don't want to die from the timer, and then grab that bit of C4 that was on the ground, then put it back on the jet because it should have stuck the first time, but get back in the jet, and then start taking off again. And what if you were to throw this jet at a tank to cause it to blow up? What would happen? Brother, that did absolutely nothing! What do we got? If you were to try to throw a jammer onto a vehicle to get it to stick, like a helicopter, it doesn't really stick. You can see even when you kind of get it stuck and you move around, it begins to fall off. And it wouldn't really matter anyway, because we already know that with the Igla, if you were to throw a jammer on a guy using an Igla, it jams the lock on, so it can't lock onto the heli. But what if you were to just put the jammer on yourself, get in the heli, and then take off? Could the Igla lock on? And clearly it still does. So this isn't going to work anyway. Doesn't matter. We found out that if you put a bunch of C4 on the ground in Cairo Bazaar and then have a Jeep go over it, then you trigger that C4 to send the Jeep flying with teammates inside of it, they actually can parachute outside the skybox. They're now on the top of this building. And when you spawn on them, you can run around the skybox and start taking people out without them even knowing what the heck is going on.
My God, is going on. Right. Got him.
Oh, dude, I can see the center.
I got the tank.
If you had an Igla and you tried to lock onto a tank, it wouldn't lock on. But if a sniper were to use a tracer dart and tracer dart the tank, you could now lock onto the tank and get a shot off. But what if the sniper was to put a tracer dart on the tank and then the driver were to get out, put a jammer on top of the tank? Would it cancel that lock on? And as you can see here, it completely took away all those flashing lights from the tracer dart. So we decided to try this again from a distance because it still says it's painted. The sniper now throws the jammer on top of the tank, the blinking lights go away, and now I try to lock on. And it actually can lock on. So the jammer doesn't jam the tracer dart at all. It just removes the blinking light. Remember in Battlefield 6, before the mid-season 3 update, you could slap C4 on a bike, drive it into a tank, and you could have something that ends up happening like this. Dice! It's very inconsistent. And now, after the mid-season 3 update, this is what it's like. It's super consistent now, and it's going to take out that tank. The Battlefield 6 devs actually thought about this cool detail. See, the thermal scope doesn't see through glass. If I shoot it out, you can see the people, but through the glass, you can't see them. It's completely blacked out because there's no thermals going through the glass. But what if a sniper were to use a jammer on you? Is it going to affect the thermal scope? It doesn't work on the thermal scope. It still works the same as it did before. There's a cool little detail to the KTS where if you fire it long enough, the barrel gets red hot. And notice how it progressively gets even more red over time? Well, this is what the KTS looks like when you just fire it normally. But notice what would happen when you let it get red hot for a long time while you're firing it and then decide to stop. Did you know there's a way to get on the roof at this location in Cairo Bazaar? Watch how I pull this off. You'll have to use this slanted railing here, and it's a bit slippery, so you might miss a couple of times, but as long as you follow this path here, you're going to get to the roof. Just follow the path I take.